clerk? Okay, hold on. I'm going to use this thing here. So I got to start this thing. Okay. This is to inform the general public that this meeting is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. The annual notice was emailed to the Star Ledger and filed in the Township Clerk's office on October 31st, 2019, and published in the West Orange Chronicle on November 7th, 2019. Councilman Guarino?
Yeah, present.
Councilman Kukoviac?
Present.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Present.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Present.
Council President-elect Castellino?
Present.
Okay, now we're going to swear in the Council President for 2020, and Assemblyman John F. McKeon will present the oath.
Thank you.
Bible's up there. Someone
Yeah,
wants to
the
hold
oath
Bible?
and the Bible is up there.
Imagine that handsome guy she's married to for a number of years might want to come up and
Oh, do you have the oath there?
No, in the purple folder that was up there.
Okay.
I can see that.
Absolutely. I'm just going to repeat after you, so I don't have to hold it?
Yes.
Okay.
No,
Which,
it's up there.
The right hand isn't going to work, Council President, so if it does, then you'll raise the other, however best.
The left hand works.
Left hand works. We'll do it with the left hand.
Just to start, you really have honored me to ask me to do this. I smile and think so warmly of all of West Orange when I come back to this room, and for you to have asked me, it means a lot. It's kind of fun to have watched our families grow up from little ones to big ones. So God bless you guys, and the town's lucky to have you. Have all of you.
Thank you, John. Thank you for coming this evening.
So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. I, Michelle Castellino,
I, Michelle Castellino,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
I will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to those constitutions and to the governments
to those constitutions and to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all of the duties
all the duties
of the office
of the office
of Council President
of Council
to the
President
best of my ability.
to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
I just want to thank John for coming down. It's been well over 20 years since we first met when our children were little, and we were trying to build additions to our schools and get money from the state, and many moons ago. I can't believe how fast the years have passed, but I appreciate you coming down. As I said, I started this journey with you, and I'm glad you could be here with me tonight. And thank you for all you do for us here in West Orange and our school system. Thank you. I just want to thank everyone for coming down. I have to thank my husband and my family always first, and all my friends are out here tonight. I appreciate our Council President. Congratulations to you, Council President Ken Albert, Board of Ed President Ken Albert. They had their meeting last night. Congratulations to you and to our two new school board members. Exciting time starting fresh in new year here in January. As you can see, I'm a little had some surgery last week, so I may not be my full self this evening, but I'm going to give it my best shot. And thank you. And our former board member, Laura Labs, here tonight, and Megan Brill, who are working for years. So thank you. And the mayor, I thank you very much for coming down to support me. You and Sheila, longtime friends of ours, and appreciate all that you do for the town. My colleagues, I hope I promise to try to run the meeting smooth and hopefully get out before midnight. So we'll do our best this year. Last year was a very busy year, and former Council President Guarino had his hands full. We had a lot on the agenda. I'm sure we will this year as well, but always looking forward and very humble to serve our beautiful community. So thank you, everyone, for coming down.
Thank you. Congratulations, Michelle. You know, we've become good friends over the years and everything else. We've seen our kids grow up together, and it's an honor to serve with you and, of course, the rest of the colleagues on the Township Council. And you made a commitment that we're going to try not to have council meetings past 12 a.m. So on behalf of your council colleagues, I want to present you and hand you the gavel of office and
beautiful.
use it to, as we get close to 12 o'clock, to say time to go and everything else. But congratulations,
Thank you,
Michelle.
Jeff. Thank you.
Here you go.
Okay. Now, is this one yours that we have up here, or?
No, that's okay. I got
I'm
one.
teasing. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Update on redevelopment.
Okay, Mr. Sayers.
As of today, I spoke with Mr. Diaz. There are 214 units that are currently rented. They have their site plan for Phase 2, which is scheduled to be before the planning board, I believe, in February. And that's about it. That's where they're at right now.
Okay, my colleagues have any questions for Mr. Sayers? Councilman Kukoviac?
Mr. Sayers, did you say 214 units are rented?
Correct.
At the last council meeting, I asked about a proposed or a planned sale of Phase 1 downtown in this, and you said you were going to check on it.
Right. Nothing has happened with that yet, according to what he told me today.
Okay, I understand that, but is the process underway for them to sell the property? I don't know what-
They have some people that are looking to purchase the property, but there's no contracts or nothing available at this point, right now.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, council liaison announcements? Councilman
Thank you,
Guarino?
Council. Thank you, Council President. Rolling right along, we're starting off our new year with our West Orange Pedestrian Safety Advisory Board, and our first meeting will be, and I have to ask Mr. Puglisi to arrange the room for me, will be January 11th at the ECEC at Turtleback Zoo, 7:30. Please make yourself comfortable. Come and visit us. Come and express your feelings. Come see the grants that we're applying for, and the rollout of a couple of our programs, Street Smart and our Safe Routes to School. So we hope you'll be able to join us and bring some of your suggestions and some ideas and offer to help us work, particularly with pedestrian safety, sidewalk development, the Main Street Road Diet. We're bringing that all to fruition. So we'll see you on January 11th. Next thing is that Downtown West Orange Alliance is rolling along, and with all our new restaurants that have come into West Orange and their new bakeries, there's a lot of great tasty things on Main Street you should look forward to come to and to work on. Coming up is going to be the Main Street open development, and the National Main Street Program event is in May, I believe, this year. So it's a big thing for us, something that, residents who'd like to get involved, you should reach out to our downtown executive director, Megan Brill, and put your 2 cents in. Every time people complain, if you really don't tell us what you're looking for or how you think you can bring about change in our downtown corridor, you need to bring that forward to us. Just about another thing, I know we haven't spoken a lot about my work on the joint meeting, which is the wastewater and sewage treatment facility for our township and 11 other towns and the city of Elizabeth. But I've created a whole new budget process for them, working with them to change their budget. So this year, we're going to have savings of a few $1 million in our budget presentation and assessments to the township, which will be a benefit to all. And so we look forward to do more with that. Other than that, that's all I have, Council President. And also, Timmy Williams asked me if she wasn't here that she wanted to mention and remind people about Dr. Martin Luther King celebration, which will be held at West Orange High School on January 20th, which is also my birthday. So,
Happy birthday.
and 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock at the high school. And also that one of our council colleagues will be honored this year, Councilwoman Cindy Matute Brown, for her commitment to the township and to community service. So we congratulate you, Councilwoman.
Congratulations.
So we hope you'll be there for that and share and spend time. Get to know your neighbors. Get to understand Dr. King's true meaning of what he wanted our society to be like. So please, come and attend. It's open to all residents, parents, non-parents, students, seniors. So it's a great event to come and to participate. And that's all I have. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Thank you very much for that acknowledgement. I would have felt really awkward to say, come down and see me, I'm being honored. But yes, please come down and join. It's always a wonderful celebration as we honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I don't have much other than to say thank you to all of my council colleagues for a pretty incredible year as my first year here, and I look forward to continuing the work that helps move us all forward together in progress and seeing wonderful things happening in West Orange. I did send, God bless you. I did send a snapshot of an article that was in the TAP West Orange this morning with respect to the tax credits that were approved for the senior citizen facilities on what is currently our public library. And I was really excited to see that the approximately 7,500 square foot project, which will house an auxiliary library on the site, is expected to take 12 months. I'm really, really excited that that is something that we're going to look forward to providing for our community, our new library. There's a lot going to be happening. So yes, well,
Good stuff.
a lot of good stuff. So you will also be busy this year, Council President. But again, thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you. Councilwoman McCartney?
Thank you. So happy New Year to all. Happy and healthy New Year. And my colleague is right. We accomplished quite a bit last year. So I'm going to start with a lot of invitations. Yesterday there was a sold-out performance, Sunday, with the Alfred Hitchcock thriller, North by Northwest. So the West Orange Classic Film Festival started. These cards are around town. Every Sunday at 2 o'clock at the AMC Theater. Tickets are available through the West Orange Arts Council and Fandango. 2 o'clock every Sunday at AMC. The Arts Council also has, if anyone is a fan of the popular time-traveling Outlander, our town resident and former chair of the Arts Council, Heidi Sussman, is showcasing her interactive TV experiencing, capturing the characters from that show. So that will be on exhibit at the West Orange Arts Council, located at 551 Valley Road, starting on January 18th. We have, I'm the chair of the West Orange Chamber of Commerce annual breakfast. I'm not sure what year this is, but we expect close to 300 guests typically. And it's a platform for the mayor to provide the state of the town address. That date is Wednesday, February 5th at 8 o'clock at the Wilshire Grand. Tickets are available at westorangechamber.com, spelled out. Make sure you're here in West Orange, not Florida, West Orange, Florida. And tickets are available. So any questions, please reach out. And tomorrow is the planning board meeting where we will have on our agenda the courtesy review of the Turtleback Zoo Conservation Pavilion. So public comment tomorrow evening. Lots of grants pending, so I appreciate the comment from Pedestrian Safety, the Environmental Commission, Open Space Commission. We're working on a lot of projects and grants coming up in the spring. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Kukoviac?
Thank you, Council President. The Open Space and Recreation Committee is meeting tomorrow, Wednesday at 7 p.m. here at Town Hall. We are going to be talking about Earth Day. 50th anniversary of Earth Day is Wednesday, April 22nd. So if you have any ideas, please let the committee know. Let me know. I'll pass them along. One of the plans we're going to be talking about is to have a ribbon cutting for the pollinator garden at the Township Open Space property at the top of the second mountain on Mount Pleasant Avenue, affectionately known as The Rock. As soon as it warms up at the end of winter, we'll probably also be needing help to do some work up on the property.
Excuse me, Councilman Cook. Yeah, we're just having little technical difficulties.
If you can, or can move her laptop down halfway, because it's blocking Joe. It's blocking Joe.
That's okay. That's fine. We don't have to stop the meeting.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
And so we're going to need some help gardening up there and getting the rest of the property in better shape after winter.
Great. Thank you, Councilman. This Thursday night, we will have our West Orange Public Relations Commission meeting here in Town Hall in the conference room at 6:30 p.m. Looking for a great busy year. We will be working on another Realtor Open House. We bring that back every couple years to have the realtors come in to, actually we usually host it at Liberty Middle School, and we have our superintendent speak as well as our mayor. So we get lots of great information out to the surrounding community in the real estate business. Also, we'll be working on Restaurant Week. We're looking to bring Restaurant Week back, and we're excited to do so. So anyone looking to come join the commission, you don't have to be a part of the commission. If you're interested in either one of those two events you want to be helpful with, come Thursday night, which is January 9th. Our senior citizen recreation activities, very busy, starting out with all the winter events. I'm not going to list all of them. There's many. The library has a great menu as well of different events, real quick, Zumba, yoga, aerobics, crocheting, giving back in your golden years. We have Stephanie Grove from Metro West coming in to speak. We're trying to organize volunteers in the community, which is great. We have so many of our residents who like to keep busy and they want to volunteer their time. So we're very excited about all those opportunities for them. We would like you to also reach out to get the email blast if you haven't done so already. Reach out to Senior Services at 325-4105, of course 973. And ask for Noelia Perez, and she'll get you on the e-blast list. So a lot of great activities this year. Also in our recreation department as well, a lot of great opportunities in our youth programs. Please go on to West Orange, recreation@westorange.org if you want to send an email to Mr. Keogh and his department. But sign-ups are now for the spring, so please join our Community Pass. We try to make it easy and simple. So look forward to a great year. Okay, Madam Clerk, we have 5 minutes to go. Wow, okay. A little time there.
Council President, if I may.
Absolutely. Our Public Information Officer, Mr. Fagan.
Certainly, I'd like to offer you congratulations on your tenure as Council President. I want to draw attention to the new sound system that is installed here in Council Chambers, and this is actually a wireless mic. So this microphone can be taken into the audience if a member of the public needs to make public comment and cannot walk up to the podium. And we also have, as you may be aware, our new screen here that is behind for presentations, and it comes down very quickly. And I'm going to stop it just before it hits the clock. The clock is going to move. Now, I had the projector overhead will obviously project pictures onto the screen, and I had a picture up here, but we were unaware that it interferes with Matt filming, so we're going to have to overcome some technical difficulties with that. But the screen and projector will be available for anyone wishing to make a presentation to the council, and I've sat in your seat with the projector on, and it does not interfere with your vision at all. But in that particular seat, you may want to come out here to see what's up there. So these are some exciting changes that have taken place here in council chambers, and they will be at the disposal of council and any member of the public that wishes to offer a presentation. Karen, is there anything I left out?
No.
Anything you'd like to add?
You did very well.
Okay. Thank you, Council President, and good luck for the upcoming year. Does anyone have any questions that I might be able to answer?
You know, real quick, Mr. Fagan, so all of the installation, I know everything with the sound system is all completed now. Is there any
As far as I know,
items?
yes, the sound system is complete, and I neglected to mention out that all your microphones are always live, and if you want to mute them, you have to hold the button down, and the green light will go off, and you will be able to mute them. Certainly, you can cover them up as well. But if there was something that you wanted to say in private conversation, you might just want to hold the button down so that it doesn't go out over the speakers. And all 4 speakers are controlled individually. I believe Mr. Gross has the controls over there, so that if the air conditioning should come on, or if there was a need to increase the volume, it could be done very easily.
Great, that was my question, too.
Yes.
Have we adjusted with the air conditioning? 'Cause
Yes,
that always
yes,
seems
it
to be
can
an
be.
issue.
It can be. I believe I'm only speaking right now at 30% capacity. So there is plenty of margin in there to increase the volume.
Great. Thank you so much, and thank you for Tech Department for the installation. So we appreciate it.
I had nothing to do with it.
Okay, 2 more minutes. Does anybody else have something to share with the 2 minutes left?
Just to take that just a little step further, there are a few very small things that are left to be done with the installation, so, although you can't see them now, by the time you need them, they'll be installed. So.
Yeah. Okay, great. You know, it's going to be a real asset for us when we do have the presentations, because they're a lot quicker and smoother, and with the setup, and I guess the same thing with the laptops. It'll be easy to do a presentation.
Yeah, I mean, any presentation the council would like to see, or that's going to be presented, will not require anybody to bring any equipment. They'll just have to bring the file that they need.
Oh, great.
As well. And also as part of this is a new recording system in addition to what we had previous, which was arcane at best.
Mm-hmm.
This particular laptop now is handling the recording of the meeting as well. And there is also a tie between when we have a presentation, the audio will be played out into the audience if there's audio in the presentation itself. So everything's pretty much going to be connected together. We're hoping to get, one of the things we're looking to add is the ability to have a direct connection with anything that's in the screen, also onto the tape.
Oh, nice.
So that we'll be taking a picture of a picture. Hopefully it'll get first hand. So there's still some things to finish up. But this, which is the projector, when it's down here, it looks like it's an airplane. Up there, it looks a lot smaller, and I'm glad about that. I was a little worried about the size. So, but everything seemed to work out pretty well.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Gross. Okay, Madam Clerk, I think you're ready.
Okay. This is to inform the general public that this meeting is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. The annual notice was emailed to the Star Ledger and filed in the Township Clerk's office on October 31st, 2019, and published in the West Orange Chronicle on November 7th, 2019. Councilman Guarino?
Present.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Present.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Present.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Present.
Council President Castellino.
Present.
Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? The council is now in their public meeting.
Okay. All right, again, Happy New Year to all. And we're going to start with public comment this evening. Anyone wishing to address the council, please come down to the podium here, and you will have 5 minutes. And after your 5 minutes, we'll ask the next person to come up, and we'll answer everyone at the end of public comment. Okay. Ms. Minion, please come in.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Council President.
Can you please state your name and address for the record?
I'm sorry. Marge Mingan, President of the Library Board of Trustees.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your presidency.
Thank you.
Remember, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Council members. The director and the trustees of the West Orange Public Library extend our heartfelt wishes to you and to our West Orange residents for a productive and successful 2020. 2020 is certainly going to be a busy year, and renewal of the library board's commitment and mission to provide our residents with a safe and appropriate place and experience for lifelong learning. Today, this mission grows more important, demanding not only our commitment and energies, but our responsibility to secure our library's vision for the future. To quote Thurston Moore, chairman of the Board of Trustees of Colonial Williamsburg Foundation, "Fueled by the need of our technology and communications, the priority of immediacy has eclipsed that of understanding." This statement clearly defines the challenges before all of us. The advancements in science and medicine, finance and the economy, and the cyber world are moving as fast as the rising and setting of the sun, as seen at the International Space Station, which is every 90 minutes. And the prevalence of fake news and scams affect everyone's life with the touch of a screen or a keystroke. Be assured that our trustees and the staff of the library do understand the library's role in such an environment. More importantly, in the midst of our fast-paced and changing world, I believe that our library can and does offer multifaceted ways of support. Our library is in the process of discerning a physical move to a new location. With the State Library Construction Bond Act's application process just released yesterday, and the administration and council's advancement of the pilot for the Essex Green Complex, the library board will be presenting its decision to move or not move from its current location later this month. Libraries play a unique role in transforming lives through education. Our library programs, literacy, and cultural experiences, and educational guidance will be a focus of renewal and enhancement for this year's library program. Starting with local, state, and federal agencies such as Senior Corps and Robert Wood Johnson Barnabas Health, this month, the library is offering several excellent programs for our senior citizens. 3 of worthwhile note: Giving Back in Your Golden Years, Michelle, as you had mentioned, is actually somewhat modeled after the Peace Corps. So these are opportunities that our seniors can go out into the community and help others in need. Another one is Understanding New Jersey Senior Assistance Programs. And my understanding is that if seniors do apply for these programs, they can save up to $5,000 a year. And also, a critical one is elder abuse, how to spot it and how to stop it. And sometimes we're totally ignorant of what's going on with our elderly folks. So I think this is something we need to be aware of. All of us want to age successfully, and these programs can enhance the process. I'm sure that you realize that as you age, speaking for myself, we really need to redesign our lives because we're not living just to 65. I think the median age now is over 100. So we need to refashion the way we focus our lives, how we prepare financially for it, and what we're doing right now to prepare for our health to maintain us in our later years. This year's library gallery showing this month is called The Threaded Planet. It's the art of Ashad Azid. His artwork uses all recycled materials. They've been displayed in the lower level of the library prior to this. The artist reception is Sunday, January the 19th from 1 to 2:45. So to learn about where art, environmentalism, and fashion intersect, I encourage you to come and visit and listen to the artist and view his works. Our Story Times clubs and book clubs have all started for the new year, and we encourage all ages to participate. One thing you need to be aware of, book borrowers need to note that our library, as a member of Buckles, is having some changes coming in February regarding loan periods for certain items. So I would encourage you to check online for these changes or at the circulation desk and ask for information. Again, my best wishes for all your endeavors in this new year and this decade, and thank you very much for all your work.
Thank you, Marge. Would anyone else like to speak? Hey, Mr. Police.
Can you pass those?
Thank you, sir.
So first of all, Happy New Year and congratulations on your swearing in as council president. I also want to thank Councilman Guarino for the past year. So what's being passed around right now is a postcard that we had mailed out about the annual deer management program.
Anthony, excuse me, can you just state your name?
Sorry. Anthony Puglisi, representing County Executive Joe DiVincenzo. So this is our 13th year doing this. We began in 2008. So for South Mountain Reservation, that's going to be closed every Tuesday in January, starting January 14th. So it will be January 14th, 21st, 28th, February 4th, February 11th, and February 18th. And then just in case we have inclement weather and have to cancel a program, we've scheduled 2 makeup days, which will only be used if there's a cancellation earlier in the program. If there's no cancellation, then it would just be those first 6 dates. That's going to be February 25th or March 3rd. Then on Thursdays, that's Hilltop Reservation, which really doesn't affect West Orange because that's in Verona and Cedar Grove. As always, the reason that we do close the reservation during these times is the county executive is very mindful of public safety, working with West Orange Police Force. We do monitor, make sure no one goes into the reservation. All the marksmen who we do use are volunteers, and they do have to complete a safety course that's overseen by the Sheriff's Department. So that's number one. Number two, I'm sure that your offices or your email boxes were filled with some emails regarding the proposed conservation pavilion for Turtleback Zoo. I know I've spoken before this body several times about this, and I just wanted to go over. I'm not going to. We had the county executive had sent out a letter dispelling some of the misinformation that was in some of those emails. So I just want to highlight some of that. Number one, the reason that we are proposing the conservation pavilion is for educational purposes only. As an accredited institution by 3 leading organizations, they do look at our education and conservation programming, and each of them have indicated that they would like to see some sort of improvements in our programs, so this would help us do that. The existing amphitheater, which has been renovated within the last couple years, still is not. It's lacking in what we can use it for, and so we feel that building a new structure, which would be in the African exhibit area, between the lion exhibit and the new penguin exhibit, will help us out greatly. It'll increase our capacity. As of right now, we can only use the 4 classrooms in the new education building, which severely limits the number of children who can participate in the programs. Another point that was made was the number of trees that were being removed. We are going to be removing 135 trees, and we're going to replace them in a 2-to-1 ratio. That would be in addition to the 6,000 trees that we've already planted in South Mountain Reservation over the last several years. Another thing I just want to bring your attention to, and I think I maybe mentioned this at an earlier meeting, the 3rd parking deck, on-site parking deck, was opened and used during the Holiday Light Spectacular. We did have people monitoring the traffic on Northfield Avenue, And even during days when we had close to 10,000 visitors, there was no visible backups or traffic on Northfield Avenue, which kind of validates what we had thought all along, is that the traffic was being caused by cars coming to the site, not being able to find parking, and then recirculating back onto Northfield Avenue. This also will reduce our dependence on using the Cherry Lane parking area. Yes, we'll reduce our dependence on that. And then finally, on a third topic, I usually don't talk this much, but on a third topic, earlier in December, an application was sent to the mayor and to the administrator about the local aid program being administered through the Recreation and Open Space Trust Fund. The county executive, along with the Trust Fund Advisory Board, are making $150,000 available to each municipality. It's a non-matching grant, so you don't have to come up with matching funds, and it would be for any project that you would have in the hopper for recreation purposes. And I believe the deadline to submit that is February 7th. And that's all the information I have today.
Anthony, before you step away, I just want to thank you. You're very responsive. So was the county executive when we had spoke yesterday and given us this information. I think it's important that we get facts out there about projects as opposed to just numbers that just aren't even close. I just want to point out that in the county executive letter to us, we further note that the Conservation Pavilion is not going to be used for entertainment, concerts, or Broadway productions.
Correct.
That was another item that was in some of the emails that we were receiving. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the 2-to-1 ratio with the replanting of the trees, and especially with the traffic. We've talked numerous times about traffic, and I know there were some nights that were warm with the lights, and 10,000 visitors is pretty hefty evening. So I'm glad to see that has helped alleviate that issue. But as if you don't mind, I'd like just to reiterate some of other items we talked about yesterday in regards to when the spring does come, and you have some other larger events there, how you'll have staff as far as with busing and monitoring, and so you're always mindful of the traffic in the area, and I just
Correct.
wanted to share that with my colleagues and the public, because I think that is important, especially for the folks that live over in the St. Cloud neighborhood and have to deal with the traffic. It'll be great to see that hopefully this will be calmed down for them now. So thank you. Do my colleagues have any questions in regards to the zoo issue? Councilman Kukoviac?
Yes, thank you. I think that's great news that the third deck reduced the traffic on Northfield Avenue, so I join everybody else in saying thank you. I also wanted to look at some other aspects that sometimes people in the surrounding community talk about, basically the sound and the LED lighting. Can you talk a little bit more about what's going to be there? We're going to be able to hear what's going on there off of the property, or see the lights at night?
From the Conservation Pavilion?
Yes.
I don't believe so. Like it was mentioned, it's not for concerts or Broadway productions. I mean, we're talking about animal presentations where an animal will be brought out onto the stage under the supervision of a keeper. We'll discuss that animal, possibly show a video, because there's going to be a video screen associated with the stage. And I mean, that would be the extent of a program. I mean, I'm oversimplifying that. I'm not the educator. I'm not the one putting it together, but those would be the basic elements of a presentation. And I don't imagine you would be able to hear that, outside of the zoo boundaries.
And if you excuse me, just to add, in our conversation yesterday, I had asked you, like, where it falls behind the African pavilion area.
Right.
Behind there is the park, so it's not even, the residential neighborhood isn't even where this is going to be. So hopefully,
Right.
Councilman, that would help with the noise issue or the fear of noise.
Yeah, I think everybody on the council has heard from the people who live further west,
Yeah.
up the mountain, because it tends to
Travel.
travel. The sound tends to travel up the mountain to those homes up there. So that's why I was asking about the sound, and I was just thinking about lighting in the evening.
Sure.
But I'm sorry, I'm just trying to talk on the fly. Do I correctly assume from what you were saying is that the county has considered these elements as part of potentially impacting the community with the sound and the light, and that there does not appear to be any chance that that's going to be disturbing the neighbors?
That's a correct statement.
Okay, okay. Just a quick question. I understand that there, in the master plan, that there's talk of that facility could be rented or being rented. You've made it clear it's not for concerts or anything, but does that mean that that's also potentially could be something that goes on at night?
I would have to, I don't have an answer for that. I can get you an answer.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Maybe you're always at our meetings, maybe at the next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you could shoot us an email, that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't
All right.
have any other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Two Brown?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Polisi. I know we spoke briefly yesterday at the meeting, the Open Space and Recreation Trust meeting for the county last night. A couple of things. I just wanted you, if you could take a moment to explain the process with which this will happen. I know that there's a courtesy presentation to our planning board tomorrow. For those of us who want more information, please be sure to join. I'm sure the planning board members have questions that they will be asking. And just for clarification, and we have received a lot of emails, and I will respond to them, but just for clarification that we have no right over or authority over what the county does with their property. Having said that, I still encourage you to come out and share your thoughts and your comments in the letter, and I can't bring it up right now because I lost internet access, but in the letter that the county executive sent, he also said that there is going to be a public meeting scheduled. Do you know
Right.
when that is yet? Have they?
So we're trying to, we anticipate a large crowd. So we are trying to select a site that will accommodate a crowd. So the logistics are still being worked out.
Okay. And then thereafter, is that when this will be presented to, I mean, obviously after the courtesy presentation to our planning board, the meeting, thereafter this goes to the freeholder board for a vote. Is that the process?
Well, there's going to be several opportunities for the public to comment on the pavilion at the freeholder board. So this evening there was a funding ordinance that was introduced that included the funding portion of this project. That's on first reading. The second reading, I believe, would be at the January 22nd meeting for the freeholder board, and then there is a period of time before the ordinance would go into effect. I believe that's another 21 days or so. So if there's another freeholder meeting in between that time period, of course, residents can still comment on it. Right? Residents can comment on the pavilion at any meeting they would like. Then there would be another opportunity when the project would go out to bid and be presented to the freeholder board for the approval of the construction contract. So that would be another opportunity. Then, like you had mentioned, we are planning a public meeting that will be within the next several weeks. Sooner than later, and we'll provide ample time for the public to speak at that session as well.
Okay, I thank you for that understanding of that process, how that all goes. And in thinking about, I'm not a huge supporter of continuing, even though it's 135 trees or the number of trees that are going to be removed. I am not a supporter of removing any trees. Unfortunately, when we look around what's happening around the globe right now, what's happening in Australia, those are trees that even though we replace them at a ratio of 2 to 1, it takes years to be able for them to grow to their mature state and provide the benefits that these adult trees have. Having said that, and to follow up on the local aid program that you just mentioned, you mentioned that there was $150,000 to each municipality available through this local aid program for recreation purposes. Is recreation purposes, does that include conservation as well?
Yes.
It does. So if and that's something we can discuss later, but I do want to discuss that with our council colleagues with respect to conservation. If this money is available, from what I understand, at the meeting yesterday, only one township has applied. And this is, I don't want to say free money because this is all our taxpayer dollars, but, you know, the money is available. We're looking at removing, the county's looking at removing approximately 135 trees. If we have the opportunity for $150,000 where the municipality does not have to match those funds, that we consider requesting an application be made for the old growth forest on Ridge Road to conserve that piece of environmental treasure. So thank you very much for your information. It was certainly helpful.
Okay, Councilman
Thank you.
Carino?
Thank you, Council President. Mr. Puglisi, first of all, thank you for giving us these master plan promos that basically, if a resident, are these available online?
They will in the coming weeks.
Okay, it'd be great, because I've walked around neighborhoods and shown residents these books, and it's answered a lot of their questions. It's alleviated a lot of their fears about the zoo, and it gives them a better idea than the emails that are going out with unfactual information and talking about what the zoo, what the concept is. Basically, it's a habitat, destination habitat. It's not putting animals on display for entertainment. It's showing people the exact habitat. It's educational. So I hope this will be online very shortly for residents to view, because when I walked around many of the neighborhoods, especially St. Cloud, because people were curious and I brought this to them, they were very at ease when they saw it. So we thank the county for doing this, and we hope this will be online very, very shortly. With the parking, I know, you know, it has shown that the parking has been assisted with the new parking garage. I know what's due to us from the letter from the county exec will be eventually the traffic study that'll be done. So hopefully that'll be available soon for our review. Or?
Yes.
Okay. And I found the letter, Councilwoman Matute Brown from the county executive, says that public meetings will be scheduled very shortly. So everything's there. So we look forward to that, Ms. Puglisi, and we thank the county and the county executive, and we look forward. This is a great material, folks. If you can get, when this is available, to go through this, and it explains the development of Turtleback Zoo to the specifics. Shows you all the specifics and details and what the total end of the project concept is for Turtleback Zoo. So thank you, Mr. Puglisi, and thank you, Council President.
You're welcome. Thank you. And thank you. I know we usually don't keep you up here this long this evening, but you have been very understanding, knowing all the emails we have been receiving, and I too apologize with my current situation with my arm. I haven't been able to respond to the public, but we will be responding, and I really appreciate and please thank the county executive for his letter as well, because it's important that we get the facts out to our public. And Councilwoman McCartney, I know you'll be presenting.
I'll be there tomorrow. Yes, I look forward to that application, hearing that application, and I just thank you, Anthony, for your responsiveness. There is a letter attached to the application, and to Joe's question about the LED lighting, it says that it's the stage, the LED display board is for the stage itself, so it's not the LED lighting that will be dispersed throughout the zoo. The sentence says the LED display board to enhance the performance at the stage.
Thank you.
And can I just add one thing? What Councilwoman Matute Brown said, when we do appear before the West Orange Planning Board for a courtesy hearing, they do present recommendations on all our projects, and when we receive those recommendations, we do try to incorporate them. So it's not like we just ignore West Orange saying, oh, we're the county, it doesn't matter. We do take into consideration all the input that the West Orange Planning Board has, because it's very valuable, different point of view, different set of eyes. So we always look forward to those that interaction.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. And the proof is in the pudding with the Gregory School driveway. That was about 4 years ago, and a lot of great recommendations came from the public, and you know, things were incorporated. So we appreciate the process. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Anthony.
I know we're batting out of order a little bit, but this was an important matter this evening because, as we said, many residents have written to us and we're very concerned. But we're still in public comment. Would anyone else from the public like to speak? Okay. Seeing none. My colleagues, if, we already addressed Mr. Puglisi's comments. If anyone has anything else to state, we're all good. Thank you, Marge, for coming down and for all the exciting things for this year for the library and all your effort and the board's effort. It's really going to be an exciting year as we move forward. Hopefully, you can think about packing and moving. So we'll see what will come. Okay. And colleagues? Yes, Council.
The comments that were just made, too, maybe there's only one application that's been filed, but I understand I've been working with the grant writer, and we are looking at a grant application for that $150,000 grant. And one of the things that the planning board has made recommendation, we don't have the final master plan yet before us, but one of the recommendations, to the point you made, was that if the county does eat into more of the reservation, that they would find other locations to preserve. So not necessarily using this grant, but that would be a recommendation the planning board is making.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
We're good? Okay. Madam Clerk.
Okay, the
Consent agenda?
Sure. Approval of minutes of previous meeting, public meeting, December 19th, 2019.
Consent?
Consent.
Report of township officers, none. Reading of petitions and communications and bids, none. There are no bills this evening. Resolutions, are any resolutions being pulled this evening?
Okay. All right, so I'm going to start off with just unless they're going to be pulled, asking Mr. Gross just to give the public a quick update on 2020 and 2120 with the police department, the computer equipment. Do any of my colleagues want that pulled or? Okay, Councilwoman Brown?
No, just also a discussion on 1820.
Okay.
Not pulled, just to discuss.
Okay. Okay. Councilman Kukoviac, do you want anything pulled this evening?
No, I would also like to have a bit more discussion on 1820.
Okay. Council. Okay, great. Thank you. Councilman McCartney?
I wanted to ask about, I see the contract with this GTBM, and I believe was at the same, this is on Resolution 2120.
Okay, so we're going to discuss that. Okay.
For a discussion, a question on that.
Okay. And Councilman Guarino?
Yes, I have two questions, Council President.
Which items?
I have the question on Resolution 2020 and Resolution 2120.
Okay, they're already, okay, great.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Or did you want to have your questions?
We got a quick discussion real quick.
Okay.
Mr. Gross, number 18? 1820?
Yes.
Okay, Councilwoman Matu Brown, you had a question?
Yes, this resolution calls for the reimbursement with respect to property taxes that have been paid for Block 108, 97, 165, and 155, with a refund total amount of $89,001.14. So can you just please explain the process by which this settlement was reached? There was the tax appeals that were filed on these properties, and why this settlement is that amount.
Okay. This is from tax court. This is a settlement agreement between the parties based on coming to terms with, what we felt we could justify to the court and what obviously the owner of the property felt that they could justify. Neither party wanted to proceed to the end and decided to come to an agreement in the middle. It's like this is like any other taxpayer who believes that their assessment is higher than what their property value is. They have the right to appeal that and take it as far as they like within that township as well. So.
And just a follow-up question in that regard, because I looked up some of these properties. When it comes to, can you talk about the considerations that the court makes, the tax court makes, when it comes to properties that are businesses?
Well, businesses and residences are evaluated differently. There's such a turnover in residential property that it's pretty easy to tell what a value is, because you can look at similar type properties and make comparisons, and that's what appraisers do. Commercial properties are totally different. Commercial properties are based on the use of the property and what a potential business would be able to use that property for, and how much money they could potentially make on that. And that's a much more dicey valuation, number one, because businesses just don't sell that frequently. So they use a profit and loss methodology on that usually, and compare it. If you have a particular business that's not operating at a high level, appraiser makes a determination as to whether or not a different business owner could do more business, and we would take a position the property would be worth more. And then that's what you have to prove to the court in order to win the case. And oftentimes, during that process, an owner becomes educated a little more, and the township looks at, maybe sees things it didn't see before, and they come to a conclusion where it's better to settle rather than go for a decision of a judge.
And just as a follow-up, thank you for that explanation. And just as a follow-up for the block number 155, that particular building, when I looked at it, it looked very familiar to me because I have a friend who no longer works there because her company had to downsize, and lots of their staff members in the medical facility lost their jobs there. And it was just coincidental when I looked it up that that was the facility, and I was sad to see that. But it certainly puts this in a clearer perspective to understand. Thank you for that explanation. That's it for me, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I'm sorry, you have the same, on that same
yes,
number?
I just
number
wanted-
18, okay, thank you.
Right. So, first of all, I couldn't tell from looking at the online databases exactly where this property was. It looked like to me that it's not the old Organon building.
It is.
Because I thought it wasn't the old Organon building because, correct me if I'm wrong, the old Organon building only has one property on it, one building on it.
These are condo units.
These are condo units of the Organon building. It's not the properties further down where there's all the medical.
It's the Organon building.
Okay. So explain, if you could, explain to me how a condominium is evaluated either the same or differently than an entire building.
Well, a condominium is just that. It's a separate property. It has its rights, certain rights to the land, a portion of the land, not the entire site, but they have, the value of a condo. It's no different than a residential condo building, which might have 20 units in it. If they're all individually owned, they're individually taxed.
Okay.
Same thing with it.
And they can be appealed on
Sure,
by unit.
absolutely.
Okay. So you have a much better understanding of how commercial properties are evaluated or for assessments than I do. My understanding is one of the ways to evaluate the value is to look at what the property could or is generating in terms of rental income. And then, because that affects the
Yeah,
actual.
rental, or it could be operational income. In other words,
Okay.
if I own the property and I'm running it, I'm not renting it to somebody else. If I run a medical office, based on the space and the location, will determine what the potential value of that is, what a typical owner of a property like that would make, would be on that based on that value.
Yeah, and one of my concerns is that if some of these condos are getting, what I consider to be substantial cuts in their assessments, one of them is for almost 14%, the other one's for a little over 14%. And on the larger building, that's more than $550,000. I'm concerned, A, that the properties aren't generating as much value as they used to, and B, whether there's going to be a domino effect of other condo owners in those properties filing for tax appeals.
Yeah. Well, if you, from the other side, they've been concerned that they'll say they've been concerned they've been paying maybe 20% more than they should have, and that we came to a settlement to where we are now. This is the dynamic we have with tax appeals. Everybody feels their property, not everybody, many people feel that their properties are overvalued and they're paying too high a share. I mean, it's, and you can have that in neighborhoods. You can, the phenomenon you're talking about is by this, you are setting a standard, and you may have a domino effect within those neighborhoods. That could happen here too. Fact of the matter is, this is from tax court, and what you're voting on here tonight is acknowledging you're acknowledging the payment of a refund. If it had been applied, for instance, this is a quirk of New Jersey law. If the owners said, well, don't send me a check, apply it to my next year's taxes, this would not come before you. It's only here because we're writing a check. It's not for you to approve the settlement, because the judge has already done that. It's to acknowledge and understand that the payment is going to be made. What you're talking about is very interesting and important parts of the tax assessment and appeal cycle debate. But not much we can do about it other than continue to strongly protect our values by going to tax court and try to get a good settlements when these things come up.
Right. Do you know for these two particular taxpayers or tax appeals what the major factors were producing this lower settlement?
Yeah, I don't know specifically. This happens to be one taxpayer, one owner that owns both units that appealed. If I did have that here tonight, it's certainly not something we would discuss in public because that leads to strategy, and that's not something that is public information as to how we strategize, how we may or may not settle or evaluate a particular property. So I don't know specifically, but I did not have that conversation with our counsel.
Okay. Are there other appeals from this building pending?
I do not know.
Okay. Could you just find out and
Sure.
send an email to the council when you get a chance, please? Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Gross, why we have you here, if you could please talk about 2020 resolution authorizing the purchase of Dell computer equipment through state contract number 19 Tele 00656. I believe that's for the police department.
Yeah, we have useful life now on our computer is still right around 5 years, and we have a need to replace our computers on a periodic basis. This is what I would call one of our regular tranches of purchases.
And 21, also for the police department?
Yes.
And those are monitors?
21 is the
License plate reading.
Oh, the license plate. Oh, the
yeah.
monitors were the other, the Dell.
Well, that was with monitors.
Okay. And this is the license plate readers.
We bought our last one, well, I shouldn't say last one. The ones we're replacing, I think were bought about 8 years ago. They're not, there were ones that are not functional. And we also look to put them in as many cars as we can because it's a terrific tool for keeping our streets safe.
Councilwoman McCartney had a question?
I did. That was the one that I had the question on. That seems to me that was the program when I saw the contract here for e-ticketing.
Yes.
That's the
Same company. They're big. They have a lot of state contracts. We've resolved our issues with e-ticketing,
Okay.
and
That was
yeah.
Okay. My colleagues, are you good now? All your questions answered on those
Yeah,
items?
I also went through the police department. I know this. I said this at the last meeting with the Sustainable Jersey, our certification, that we did receive points for this e-ticketing because of paperless
Good. Very good.
process.
Okay, Madam Clerk?
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda is implemented.
Okay. ordinance on, we don't have any ordinances on second reading tonight, just first reading. Item number 2595.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. If I may, I mean,
Oh, would you have a question? I'm sorry.
I said I had two questions on the...
I asked. I thought you, sorry, go ahead.
Don't be sorry, it's okay. Mr. Gross, and I'm sorry to my colleagues, I just thought it was coming over to my way. So, on Resolution 2020, the purchase of Dell equipment, what areas and what departments are the equipment being purchased for?
Mostly police department.
I'm sorry, sir?
Police department.
Police department, and for what system in the police department?
These are our desktops and other uses within the,
Dispatch services and equipment?
everywhere.
Okay, how old is the equipment that it's replacing?
Over 5 years.
Okay, so it's past its depreciation. Okay.
They're old enough that we have to buy monitors because the new computers don't have VGA hookups.
Okay, so it's predominantly for the police department. Anything for the cars? Are any of this Dell equipment going into the patrol cars?
This is office,
Okay.
primarily, there may be.
No, okay. And the other thing is the license plate readers. Those are, of course, now, are they going to be used for traffic enforcement, parking enforcement?
Yes.
Because I know in South Orange, they use them a lot when they check the parking lots for people's registration and they tow their cars. So I'm just trying to get an idea of what the purpose.
Yeah, you may have some, you know more about that perhaps than I do, so, yes.
Okay. All right, but basically, will this be for, moving violations and
Everything.
the officer?
That's the nature of a license plate reader. It's always on.
Okay,
Well, they choose to put it on, but, that's an operational, but they're always on, and when you're driving down the road, if it happens to spot a vehicle that, that of interest, then it'll bring that to the officer's attention, and the officer can decide what they want to do about it.
Right. How many current vehicles currently have this system in them?
Oh, I don't know the number now.
And how many are we buying?
I'm going to say probably 6 to 8 that
Okay.
we have.
Are any of these mobile units where if we do have officers walking, they can have access to the same type of information?
It exists, that's not what we're buying here.
All right, these are strictly for the
Yes.
for the patrol cars? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gross. Thank you, Council President.
No, my apologies.
No, it's okay.
I looked, I didn't see you, I thought you were done.
It's okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Council President.
Madam Clerk, okay, are we good? Go ahead.
Just a quick clarification. Did I understand Councilman Guarino's question was how many LPRs are we purchasing?
No, I thought he was asking me how many we had active working.
Okay. LPRs, because the answer I got from Mr. Allegrino this afternoon was that we have none. All 3 of the license plate readers that we've been using are non-functional and have been non-functional
Yeah, he
for
did
the
send
last
that
year.
email, I saw.
Okay. I stand corrected.
And the resolution just says we're going to buy 3 more for like $60,000 for the license.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, we already had done the vote. We're going to go back to the ordinance 2595-20.
Yes.
Okay.
An ordinance amending Chapter 4, Sections 5.1 and 5.2, Chapter 5, Section 34, Chapter 22, Section 3, and Chapter 25, Sections 4, 11.14, Part A, permitted uses table of district regulations of the revised general ordinances of West Orange, medical marijuana dispensaries. Is there a motion to introduce on first reading?
So, Madam Clerk, so yesterday I had reached out individually to my colleagues. What I'm proposing to do with this ordinance is to not to move it this evening, to table it. We had a lot of other questions that needed to be answered from some of our directors, and we'd like to discuss it further in pending matters. And I
Okay.
believe that is the appropriate place, and my colleagues all agree?
Yes.
Okay, so I would need a motion to table then.
Okay?
I'll make a motion to
So
table.
moved.
Okay. And is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Okay. Councilwoman, I'm sorry, I'm back in 2019. Councilman Guarino?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Castellino?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. 2596-20.
Yes. An ordinance amending Chapter 2, Section 50.4 of the Revised General Ordinances of West Orange Municipal Alliance Committee on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse Organizational Structure. Is there a motion to introduce on first reading?
So, second.
Councilman Guarino?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Castellino?
Yes.
Okay.
Council President, Madam Clerk, I just want to point out that on that ordinance, the wrong legislative history is attached to it. You need to correct that. The legislative history attached appears to relate to some other ordinance, I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah.
So,
And which, on that, the one that was just introduced?
2596.
On the Municipal Alliance.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll have to look into that.
Okay.
Yeah, I
This
don't
had
know.
to do with property.
Okay, on first reading, we try to have some discussion, so if there's any issues, we could iron them out before the final reading. Any questions, discussion, Councilman Guarino?
No, not this time. I'm going to think about something, Councilwoman, so I'll pass for now.
Councilwoman?
On first reading?
Yeah, for first reading, if you have any questions or any discussion, Councilwoman Matute Brown?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, can we just, just to clarify on that first reading ordinance 259620, with respect to the Municipal Alliance Committee on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse, what this is calling for is just to amend the timeframe with which the committee meets so that they ensure that they're consistent with the county's requirements, and they will be adopting bylaws that govern their operation and will be meeting quarterly each year. That's what this ordinance is for on first reading. And I have to say that I'm very happy to see a lot of good things coming from the it's active Municipal Alliance Committee. And kudos to all those members who dedicate their time to volunteer for this. I'm excited to see what comes from the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilwoman McCartney?
Well, not on this, but I do want to thank you.
Well, we're still on this, so on this ordinance. Okay. Council Clerk, okay. And thank you for serving as the liaison, and it's exciting to see how active the Alliance has become lately, so we appreciate that. Okay. Moving forward to pending matters. So let's start with the tabling of the ordinance. Okay, Councilman Krokoviac?
Council President, could I just make a suggestion? I can see that there are people here for the ABC, and where I'm thinking that we might have a somewhat lengthy
Discussion.
matters pending on a variety of subjects. Maybe we let them go first?
So let me ask, are all parties present for the ABC matter? Sir, are you all present that's supposed to be here? If my colleagues don't mind, do Matt,
So we adjourn this and then?
you know, so Madam Clerk, you want to adjourn?
No, you don't
And
have to
then-
adjourn anything,
Okay.
just go out of order.
Okay. So we'll fall into, yes, you need to turn the video off. So we'll resume in a little bit with our pending matter section of the meeting. Right now, we have to turn the cameras off for our ABC hearing. Thank you for the suggestion, Councilman.
And thank you.
Okay, colleagues, so let's start off with, let me just give a little history here for the public in regards to item 2595. Our colleague, Councilwoman Matute Brown, has been working diligently with Mr. Moon in regards to our ordinance for the medical marijuana dispensaries, so we appreciate your due diligence with that. We had a very busy agenda past couple months with all that we passed in December, and I know I was one to neglect getting some questions answered and some information forwarded to Mr. Moon. Also, some of our directors have a little more due diligence. I had asked if you all saw that we had an email today from the board president from the school board, Ken Alper, concerned about the distance from the schools. and that needs to yet be measured out. Mr. Sayers, we had a discussion on that, so that needs to, what's just one of the items that the administration or or directors need to complete, one of the actions. So my question right now is, as we move forward with this, if you have anything you'd like to discuss tonight, please do so. If you have any questions for Mr. Kaiser, if not, please get your comments over to Mr. Moon so we could continue to work on this, and any questions you may have for any of our directors, please, just continue with our due diligence so we can continue with this. So who would like to start? I'll go this way, Councilwoman McCartney.
Thank you, Council President. I wanted to say I was a little surprised to see this on the agenda. I thank you for making the suggestion to table it, but I do want to thank my colleague Cindy Matu-Brown, because I think it was back in October when we did have the public presentation. Though when we left, it was a few months ago, I had more questions than answers after that presentation. And like you said, there was no follow-up after that. So I was a little surprised to see this. There are a lot of questions involved. But I also know that working on the master plan with the planning department, I guess I expected it to happen in a different process, because the planning department did talk about this, because we do not have a permitted use or a zone. So I thought that that would happen first before we would see this ordinance. But there's still a lot of questions with regard to this ordinance.
And Councilman McCartney, let me just ask you this question, because I had asked you yesterday in regards to the time frame of the master plan with the planning board. When are you looking to discuss this?
Our meeting is tomorrow night.
Tomorrow. So you'll bring this up for us then?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the zoning items that were already presented to us, or the possibilities, have not been spoken to?
No, and nothing as far as the distance between the schools and all the things that we do have questions about.
Okay.
And I don't know, this is not, it's not time sensitive, as far as I know, right? I don't see that this is time sensitive.
No, Mr. Moon, in his discussion, in fairness to him, had wanted to move us along, and he just put it on the agenda, and not realizing we weren't that, we had many more questions for it. So,
Good.
So you'll report back to us
Sure.
then after your meeting tomorrow night?
course.
Okay, great. Thank you. Councilwoman Matu-Brown?
Thank you, Council President. I was just looking for an email that I forwarded, and a lot has happened. I know we're all incredibly busy with everything else we were tasked to do, so I'll find it and re-forward that email to you. Because when we received this from Mr. Moon, even after we had a discussion, I had several questions up to, and can you hear me, Council?
I'm okay. No, I'm sorry. Thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome. I had several questions that included the police department, their involvement, and a couple of other details that I needed clarified. And they did provide answers. I do want to thank Chief Abbott. He did take a conference call with me, and we went through his perspective, and I really appreciated that. But as far as I know, I spoke to Mr. Moon today as well, and there is no time frame with which they're working. It's just something that he didn't want to get lost in the mix. And there are other questions with respect to how far is 1,500 feet from, I know that in our conversations, he took that language from other ordinances. And we had other conversations that Council President and I had with respect to, employees, licensed pharmaceuticals. Is it going to be a licensed pharmacist? And his response to me was that is all dependent on what the state regulations call for, so we'll abide by that. And I do want to say that I did want to get as much information out there as possible so that we can all make an informed decision, because this is new to all of us. But if I may take a point of personal privilege, to say that while I have been working diligently before rumor mills get started, I am doing just our job. That's it. I have no personal interest in any businesses having to do with this ordinance. I just needed to put that out there. Thank you, Council President.
Councilman Guarino.
I'm fine.
Good.
I have no, I need more information, and that's, I want to look at the whole picture, and I respect everything that Councilwoman Matute Brown has done. It's important, but I need more information, and I want to know more input from the residents and more input from the medical community, and just this to get a comfort level.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilman Kukoviac,
And thank
any
you,
questions
Councilwoman.
this evening?
No questions this evening.
Okay. The one thing I did have a question for Madam Clerk, because trying to compare this with our, we just did an ABC hearing with the liquor license. So, because one of my concerns was, you can, Mr. Moon had answered, you can obtain one of these licenses for a dispensary under a guise of an LLC. And, being in the real estate world, I know they're trying to, you don't have to disclose who the actual owners of the LLCs are, but I know, don't they have to for a liquor license?
Yes, in an ABC license, all persons are named and investigated.
Okay, and I would hope the same would apply for this. Can we find out from the state, or I'll ask I already asked Mr. Moon that question, but, Mr. Kaser, so.
I noted that we started this conversation at 7:56 PM so that Mr. Moon knows where to go on the tape to watch to see what the questions are. But it would probably be helpful if, as you folks have questions, write them down and,
Yes.
you can get them to him. He may be able to get answers. You may need to get answers from other people as well, but I know he wants to move this along as best he can, and in fairness, if we don't know the questions, we can't get the answers, so.
Absolutely, and thank you very much for recommending that. Just for the public to know, this ordinance, the state had passed legislation, and so now, although many townships were trying to be proactive and trying to pass ordinances to ban these facilities, apparently, that may be overturned. So we do need to be prepared, and we need to have something in place. So we're, as Councilwoman Matute Brown said, we're just going to do our jobs here and prepare ourselves for our responsibility to the community. So thank you, my colleagues, for moving that off tonight's agenda, and we'll revisit that. Next, Councilman Kukoviac, you had a question, and we're going to have a quick discussion about OSPAC this evening. And we had renamed Councilwoman Matute Brown as our liaison, so hopefully she can answer some of your questions. Go ahead, Councilman.
Yeah, it actually just came up in our discussion because the original draft of the authorizing resolution had your name on it as opposed to hers, so we were discussing that yesterday. So I was planning to bring it up tonight, but you sort of proactively tried to address it yesterday. So that actually has been taken care of because we've already approved the consent agenda that made Councilwoman Matute Brown the council liaison. So that was taken care of. I was just curious on a couple of other things, and we passed the ordinance, the enabling ordinance to create a board to oversee OSPAC. It's going back to early last year, and I had just assumed that the board had been meeting for most of the year and certainly most of the season, most of last year's season, because one of the impetuses of getting the ordinance approved was that we needed to approve whatever performances were going on there. But I understand, if I understand correctly, the board has not met yet.
That's correct.
And I just thought this might be a good time to just ask why it didn't meet the entire season.
Sure. So, Councilwoman, I know you spoke earlier, and I had spoken to Camille, so you go.
Okay. Absolutely right. The committee has not, the board has not been formed. when you say entire season, I think back to a couple of months ago, several months, right? Because a couple is two, but we're really talking about and in due deference to all of the work that had to happen for them to have their season. It was an incredibly busy summer, incredibly busy year for the rest of the council. So in allowing that to happen and her seeking volunteers and seeking out programs to have a successful first year and close out her financial books at the end of this 2019 year, because I know that that was also a question with respect to minutes and reporting, and her email, which she also copied me on, was stating that she had not at that time closed out her books and she was going to do that at the end of this year. This being January 7th, and being officially appointed as the liaison, it is something, and I spoke to, oh my God, I am so sorry, his name is, Bill Kehoe, sorry Bill, last week, and we're going to get some dates on the calendar so that we can formulate this board and get it going sooner than later, particularly since before you know it, springtime will be here and programming will have to happen. So it was just an incredibly busy time for both the OSPAC and for all of us here on the council, but it will get underway. I did not have an opportunity to reach out to Camille today. I think on my way home today I had 4 phone calls that I had to take in advance of this meeting, so I did not have that opportunity, but I will follow up with her with respect to her closing out her finances.
Go ahead.
Well, that relates to one of the requests that I had made to Mr.
Yeah.
Sayers, I guess, a month or two ago. But
Last
just to put this in some context, the board, the idea for the board came up in the wake of a police investigation related to the management and operation of OSPAC, not in 2019 season, but the 2018 season, totally unrelated to the 2019 season. I want to just make clear that the vendor that was chosen did not have anything to do with this. The impetus was to get and I think it was an excellent idea, and I think it came from you, Councilwoman Matute Brown, was to get more oversight of the programming there and perhaps more oversight of the finances. And so we pushed through the ordinance creating the board, I thought with the understanding that it was going to be overseeing the season. And as you know from the ordinance, the vendor, I don't even know whether they even have a seat on the board. The board is made up primarily of town employees, our council liaison, and maybe 1 or 2 other people. So I'm trying to find out why, and I understand we got the vendor late and they were very busy, but I don't think, at least as far as I've heard, that that's an explanation of why this board did not operate for the entire season and the council didn't know about it. So I'm just trying to find out.
So if you don't mind, I just want to add to the conversation.
Sure.
So I had spoken, I'd given, obviously I have a lot of free time. I'm on a furlough from employment, but I could still act as your council president. So I have plenty of time to make phone calls today. So I had a nice conversation with Camille, and she, apologizes. She thought it was on our end to move forward the OSPAC meeting itself. So she did have regular board meetings with her board. She does have her financial ready for us. She will disclose any information that we may want. And after conversation, she was going to talk with you this week. They're looking at, I believe, would she say February 1st, quarterly, because it's too much to meet monthly. And I explained to her how the other boards take minutes and we'll need the minutes back, and she is full understanding and has no issue with that. So, and you are correct, we did move forward, but we had and again, no excuses, we had a full agenda last year. But I think we had enough eyes on the operation. I know all summer, each of us was up there. We attended a few meetings with her. Councilman Guarino, I think your wife volunteered to help with fundraising. Councilwoman, your husband had been bartending all summer for them. So, a lot of eyes and a lot of phone, conversation, because you're right, we're all concerned of programming that's going in there. We're concerned about the future of it, and that we get the most, we maximize the best potential for the facility, because it is our facility. So, Councilwoman, if you could report back the next meeting and give us a full report, and hopefully by not the next meeting, but the February meeting, that you could turn around the minutes quickly for us and schedule a time when she could come in to give her year-end report. And that could even happen before that other meeting, so that would hopefully be comfortable for you.
And I do just want to clarify, considering that the board has not been formulated, I don't know how many township employees are on the board since it's not officially formed. I know that there have been conversations that Camille and I have had, Council President, we met to discuss, what type of talent we would like to see on the board that would be helpful for a successful programming. So I don't want to just let that linger out there, that it's full of township employees. Camille will absolutely have a seat on the board, since this is, she takes the lead in the programming. But certainly, and I did suggest Bill Kehoe, because he does programming with the rec department, and it is a wonderful, and because it is our facility, the township's facility, that he would have programs there as well. So nothing to do with anything other than it was, go time, and she went the entire season, which is, what was that, the summer. How many events did she have? It was just busy, but I will be sure to reach out to her. Again, I spoke to Mr. Kehoe a couple of days ago and get something on the calendar. We will have a meeting and move forward with constituting a board and have her come and give a presentation about her financials.
Yeah. Councilwoman McCartney?
Well, I just wanted to add to that I also believe part of our conversation was to be sure that someone from DPW was on that board
Lou
too,
Reynolds.
because of the maintenance, and just if any issues come up, that they can be immediately addressed.
And that really is so important and necessary, because they did have to come up and lend a hand. It is, again, a township property, and the setup, setting something up there, one event is just incredibly stressful and exhausting. So I do agree. So if we want to say DPW is full, the township employees are the ones that make up the board, there's likely really good reason behind that, right? Again, my perspective was the talent and what they can bring to make the OSPAC successful.
Okay.
But there is no list. There was discussions.
Okay, so you'll get us
Yes.
information as soon as possible.
I will.
Okay, great. Thank you. Councilman, anything else on that?
There's six members of the board, and it does not include anyone. This is an issue that I raised back when what I thought we were rushing through this too fast.
Okay.
But there are 6 members. 1 member shall be the member of the Township Council, 1 member shall be selected by the mayor, 1 member shall be selected by the West Orange Rec Department, 1 member shall be selected by the West Orange Arts Council, 1 member shall be selected from the West Orange Department of Public Works.
Okay.
So, one of the things that concerns me is that there was in place a process in which I believe Mr. Kehoe and primarily Mr. Sayers had the final say on programming.
Programming? No, that's not correct.
Okay. Well, I'll go back and I'm not prepared to talk about it in detail. I'm just, the only reason I know this is because that's what was in the contracts that the council had approved earlier in the decade. But
I mean, here's how it worked. She would send us a letter, not a letter, but something that would say we're having these 3 events. We would review it, send it back to her. That's what it was. I mean, it wasn't like we would tell her what events to have and not to have. But if there were events there that we didn't particularly care for or want, then we've never pulled any events for her. She's done a great job, actually. Very good
Council
job.
President?
Right, I'm not talking about the vendor from last year. I'm talking about the process that was in place before that, at the time that this investigation, the police investigation started.
You're going back to.
Right. And
The
again, I
most
don't
current,
want- I'm
their
not-
most current
That's-
contract.
That's still ongoing. Yeah.
So that
We can't
investigation
really
is still
talk about it.
ongoing, like a
Yeah.
year and a half later?
Yes.
It'll
we
probably
can't
go for
talk
20
about that.
years.
What's that?
It'll probably go for 20 years.
Okay, one at a time.
Sorry.
That's okay. So, Mr. Sayers, if you could please finish your thought, let Mr. Sayers
No,
finish his thought.
that's still going on, that investigation, because there were complaints made about the people who were there prior to the
Okay.
person who's running it now.
Right, so we passed this legislation to create the board, but we never created the board, and the board has specific powers in the ordinance. So if the board never met, and they were designed to actually review the programming and keep track of the finances, was anyone doing that?
So we just stated, that Councilwoman just stated that that had not gotten done in the manner which we directed it to get done. There were looser conversations, and to your point from the prior incident, we shouldn't be so loose, and we're going to have a concerted effort. She's going to move forward, and so let's see what comes to us at the next meeting. You duly noted what did not happen. I don't want to belabor it, but we will make sure that it does happen. As far as a Public Works, Mr. Sayers, if you could make sure she has an appointment for Public Works this week.
We
Councilman
actually have
McCart-
someone from Public Works who stays up.
Louis, right, so
We
Mr.
talk-
Reynolds, Mr. Reynolds?
yeah.
Okay, so
And
I would
and
assume.
Mr. Solis.
Okay. And Councilwoman McCartney, can you please make sure that there is a liaison from the Arts Council appointed for her, so they could get this committee and hopefully have a meeting beginning of February?
We meet
We'll
Thursday.
get done.
Okay, thank you.
And just so you know, Camille did drop off something in my office that she said was supposedly her financial statement. I didn't look at it yet, so I'll look at it tomorrow, and if it is, I'll get you a copy of it.
And from the intentions, from my understanding, and what your committee should be bringing to us, not only will she have last year's financial to go over with us, but she would, give a review of the programming, what worked, what didn't work, just like our other directors come. And then also, I'm sure we all would like to see what is going to be presented, whether she may not have that early in the season, she may have to come back to us in May, but I would like for us to see, a card with all the dates scheduled out and what the programming's going to be. So then we, which is great PR, which for the OSPAC itself and for the events to be promoted early in the season, and also so that we have an idea of what's coming to us. So,
I'll have that discussion with her.
okay, great, thank you. All right, next on the list.
If I could, just to clarify,
sure.
because
Sure.
this is, the more I hear, the more I'm a little disturbed about this. Are you saying that the head of the vendor who's managing that dropped off financial information about the season?
She dropped
with-
off, she said to me that she was going to have her end-of-the-year report done, and she dropped something off in my office in an envelope. I haven't looked at it yet, to be honest with you, so I just got it.
Okay, could
So
you?
I'm assuming that's what it is.
So we'll schedule her to come in. If she's ready, then speak with her. If she wants to come to the next meeting, she could present that to us the next meeting. How's that?
Well, what I was trying to get at
Yeah.
was, if Mr. Sayers has some financial records that he's going to give to Councilwoman Matute Brown, I think he should give them to the entire council. That's what I wanted.
Yeah,
That's what
I don't
wanted to bring
think-
up.
I don't care who gets them, I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
That-
I want to
I'm not,
let you know.
I promise not to hoard it. I will
Yeah.
share with the council as soon as,
Yeah, she dropped off an envelope in my office, I just didn't look at it.
Okay, so have it,
So
So we don't-
I'm assuming that's what it is.
So we
have
don't
it
know
in the
what it
next.
is. It could be a bill.
Yeah, no, she did call me to tell me that she was putting her financial statement together and she was going to drop it off, so I'm assuming that's what it was. I
So
just
we-
didn't get a chance to open it.
So we could have it in our next packet, and if you want to see if she's available to come in the next meeting, obviously the material
absolutely
is done, and then she could come back later on to discuss the future, the upcoming season.
Sure.
There we go. Well, that, all good?
That sounds good.
And then there was some discussion about minutes. What's the,
Well, you can't have minutes of a meeting if there isn't a meeting, so she'll have minutes of the, like, when they have their meetings, they'll send us the minutes like we do for the other, like, the committees.
right, but my memory from earlier in this discussion was that the vendor met and was taking minutes of the operations. Is that what-
That is for her production company. That's not OSPAC board. That's for her Pleasant Valley production company.
They're two different issues.
There-
One
yes.
is the
She
board,
has-
and one is her production.
That is not.
company.
The meetings that she has is with her production company,
She has a
not with the
roster
board.
from PVP.
Okay, so,
It's two separate things that
Okay.
perhaps is being confused. She has meetings with her board, which is the Pleasant Valley Production Company. We, as a board for OSPAC, have not met yet.
no, I understand that. The point I'm getting at is that I thought this board was operating
It
for the
is
season.
not.
Right, I understand. So was there any supervision of either the programming or the finances for the entire 2019 season?
Let's not say entire. Let's say for the several months that they put on productions, there was not.
There was not.
We will follow up as soon as I have a conversation with her. I have not had that opportunity to do it today. I did when you sent the email. She was concerned that she did not have time to close her books because it was not the end of the year, so I asked her to do that, and that I will follow up with her, and we will set up a meeting and gather the board members together and move forward as the ordinance requires. I'm honestly not as concerned as you are because I was present most of the time when she was cleaning up, when she was organizing, when she was talking to get events together. Again, my focus was to make sure that we had a successful summer at OSPAC. We will meet and we will continue as the ordinance requires. I don't know what else you would like to be
Well-
said or done at this point.
Well, if I understand your correction correctly, I wanted the ordinance to be followed.
Okay, well, it has not been and it will be.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what else you would like me to say.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up.
Thank
Because
you.
we need to move forward. And point taken, and just not Councilwoman Matute Brown, you know, again, it's been more of an, and I know it's not appropriate because it's not what we discussed, but there were numerous informal conversation, brainstorming. We were very well in tune, a few of us on the council, and concerned, calling her up to ask her. So, you know, if you ever want to pick the phone up as well to ask her about any ideas or what she's doing, she's more than, you know, she's more than generous with her time to us. And she's working very hand in hand with Mr. Keough on a few things. And mainly so, I mean, I'll give you one example. One time, he had something booked and she had something booked, and all the more reason why they're working hand in hand to make sure that their events don't conflict with each other, because we want to max out the attendance to these events because it makes it successful. But the feedback from the community informally has been phenomenal. The postings, the remarks, and, you know, again, not that it's right or wrong, but these are volunteers that volunteer all their time to have these organizations, and, you know, we're committed. We're going to get it right. So, again, you know, I appreciate you bringing up the concern and that we're having this conversation. And, you know, I think this year, too, we did so much last year that hopefully we could breathe a little bit easier, Mr. Sayers, with some of these agenda items. And so we can follow up, because I think that's where we lack sometimes, and that's where I wanted to focus on this section of the meeting tonight, so we could, you know, if my colleagues have any items that we want to follow up on, we want to make sure that they get done. And we understand sometimes the intent. You know, there's not enough hours in the day, but that's still not good enough. We have to, you know, deliver what we have promised. So
Absolutely.
I think there was one other thing from Councilwoman Matute Brown. You had one other item you want to bring up tonight?
Actually, I'm going to share this with you. I had a discussion with Mark Moon, the attorney, as well. No, I gave you one. There's two of them. And I'll pass them down to you. I had a conversation with Mark Moon, one of our attorneys, and shared something also with Council President Castellino earlier today. And I gave him a draft of 2 ordinances. If I can just pass them down this way for us to have a discussion on. I gave everyone else, and I also gave one to my council colleagues. In looking at not just the national agenda, but even locally when it comes to pay-to-play laws that we have here in the state of New Jersey, in an effort to further solidify trust in your government, in your local government, because that's all we can do here. I went on to the League of Municipalities website, and they have a library depository of ordinances that other townships, municipalities have adopted. And I found 2 of what I was looking for, and I was very grateful not to have to reinvent the wheel and not to belabor Mr. Moon with an effort if we were not going to be all supportive, we as the council be all supportive in having a discussion with respect to what this would look like. And Mr. Moon did say that we don't have an ordinance per se. I'll just read you a part of the draft. It's an ordinance requiring public contracting reform. And that's what that really is. Reform and awarding of public professional service contracts and awarding of contracts for redevelopment work. I think that as a best practice for our governing body, that this is something that we should have a discussion about to continue to further solidify a trusting relationship, transparency in government with our residents. And what this basically, and I'll just say this in layman's terms because there are several paragraphs in here. And again, it's not an official draft. It's something that I found that I shared with our attorney because they're the ones who will draft something similar to this with respect to language. And basically what it says, and it's 2 separate ones, one for service contracts, right? Because by law, a township is able to award a contract for professional services without having to go to bid. And then the other one is for any contracts for redevelopment work. And what it calls for is that those who contribute, donate via campaign for any elected official or any candidate running for office should not be awarded a contract with the township for their services. There is no allegation of any impropriety, but this just certainly helps quell concerns. And it's no secret that recently there was an issue in neighboring communities of ours that did not affect us. However, I think that this is something that I would like my council colleagues to read over and consider having a discussion about.
Excuse me, Councilwoman.
Yes.
So Mr. Moon has this information.
He has this information.
He's going to see what we
yes.
have. Do we have anything on the books? How can we not have anything on the books?
It's not I mean, we don't have an ordinance that talks to this. There is a process.
There's state statute, though, isn't it?
There is state statute, and that's how we govern. Through the state statute,
Yeah.
Those are how the contracts are awarded. This would just be a subsection to a process for us in awarding contracts. So that if there are donors for any elected official sitting or running for office, that we are not issuing contracts to those who donate to campaigns.
Okay, and where is this from?
The League of Municipalities.
So this is just general boilerplate?
Well, no, this one is not boilerplate. This is actually from the township of, hold on one second. So
Yeah, I'd like to know what town this came from.
Hightstown Borough, now, I didn't look to see why or what was the reason that they have it, but Hightstown Borough has both of these that they've passed. And when you look for ordinances, I mean, obviously not reinventing the wheel, New Jersey League of Municipalities has a great resource for this, and I'll share the link with you in that regard. But I just think, I certainly want us to have a serious discussion about this ordinance.
And
I don't even want to say ordinance because I don't know what it would be, right? Because
Sure.
Mark
Resolution.
Moon did say that we don't have an ordinance. It could probably be a resolution, but I think it's certainly a tool that helps encourage trust in government for us.
Well, thank you for bringing that
You're
to
welcome.
us. Mr. Sayers, do you have a copy? And do we have a copy for Mr. Kaiser as well?
I can email too, if I didn't have enough
Yeah.
copies.
Okay, you said this is from,
Email.
and you said this is from Hightstown, you said, right? So if we want to
Let's
look
see.
up, I always Google the town that these come from to see.
Hightstown. Say again? Let me see. Hopefully the internet will keep working. Let me see if there's a date on here. I don't see a date because it's not signed.
Okay.
This is ordinance, that's the ordinance number. That's their ordinance number, yeah. No, that's their ordinance number. But I do want my council colleagues to take a look, read up on it, and let's have further discussions on it.
Okay. Well, thank you for
Thank
the
you.
information. Well, it's a lot to.
It is a
go through
lot.
now.
It
So
is a
I'm not going
lot.
to ask us to do this right this second.
No, not at all. I just wanted to
And I
have
want to hear
that
back
discussion.
from Mr. Moon as well, but thank you, thank you. And I want to encourage my colleagues that if you have something of this nature and you want to bring forward, you know, we'll see, this was a very light agenda this evening, so it was great that we're able to have these kind of conversations. I do have one thing for the administration that I don't need an answer tonight, but maybe for next meeting. I just wanted to get an update on the bathrooms with the firehouses, just to see where we're at. I know some bids were going out, and, you know, just to see what has been completed and what also still needs to be completed. And, you know, just to get updated, so I appreciate that. Do any of my colleagues have anything else for pending matters this evening?
Can I
Councilman
make one
Guarino?
other thing,
Yes.
Council President? I just want the residents to know, my township colleagues know, that the West Orange Pedestrian Safety Advisory Board, we are planning another town-wide meeting, hopefully bringing back Professor Charles Brown from Rutgers
Nice.
University to recap of what we initially started 4 years ago, and to touch base on what we've accomplished and what our goals are going forward. So hopefully within the next few weeks, we'll know a definite time, and if Dr. Brown will be available to come back, or someone else of the same capacity to come back, and to go over and look at what we've accomplished and what we need to do to bring West Orange into a walkability community. So I just want to let you know that that's in the process right now. We're working on that.
Great, thank you. Councilwoman McCartney?
This is actually a question for Councilman Guarino. Jerry, when I went to put in before, when you were talking about council liaison with the pedestrian safety, you said January 11th was the next meeting date?
I think that's what I said. If I made the wrong date, I'll...
Please find, yeah, because that's a Saturday.
Okay, give me 1 second, Councilwoman.
You don't want to work on Saturdays?
No. Yeah, the 11th, no, we don't work on Saturday. I apologize
Okay, sorry,
to
but I just wanted to get the...
Councilman, the Councilwoman. It is, I apologize, it is the 15th. I apologize. January 15th is the first meeting
Thank you.
for the Pedestrian Safety Advisory Board. I apologize.
Okay.
Thank you.
That date okay? You have anybody in here?
No, but he doesn't do the meetings here, but you gave me a different date. You gave me the 22nd.
Okay, so we could
So we're
get
down
that
to
iron.
I sent you an email, right? It's a
It was
Wednesday.
the 22nd.
Right, the 20th.
Right.
Thank you, I'm sorry. I just saw it, thank you.
Sure.
I had to change it multiple times.
So
I'm
what's
sorry.
the date?
now-
The date is?
The 22nd. It's a Wednesday.
January.
Okay, so we're good on the date. Councilman Kukoviac?
Thank you, Council President. I also want to apologize because when I was reading from the OSPAC ordinance, I said there were 6 members of the board. They're not. There's 5 members of the board. So
Okay.
I was wrong, and
That's okay.
I apologize
Yeah.
if I confused anybody.
Great, thanks. Yeah, because it would be an odd number, so if there's ever a vote. Okay, great. The one last thing, I just want to thank Chief Abbott and Mayor Parisi. I know this past holiday season, in other parts of the world, some horrible incidences have been committed in regards to our houses of worship. And I know the mayor and the chief had reached out to our rabbis recently, and I have to say, I'm sure my colleagues could concur, that we're very blessed here in West Orange to have the kind of community that we had. We had a great menorah lighting, and that was, geez, the furthest thing of my mind of anything would ever happen here. So, you know, we hope things in the world are, you know, could work like we do here. So we're very fortunate and very appreciative of everybody's efforts. And Madam Clerk?
Yes.
I think that wraps up.
Excellent point. Note to end the meeting.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned.
And our next meeting?
January 21st.
January 21st. Thank you, West Orange. Good night.
Good night.